Welcome back, everyone. Let's get right into the stock market technical analysis. If you're new to the channel, we're looking for trade ideas before they actually show up in the charts. The charts are going to be our guide and strictly technical analysis for trade setups and trade ideas. If you guys find value in the content, drop me a thumbs up. If you guys are interested in learning this as a skill set and learning how to read these charts, check out my stock market technical analysis course. It is not a day trading course. It is not a course to tell you that tomorrow, stocks are going to go up and today they're down. And here, it's none of that. It's essentially just a course on how to learn technicals, how to read charts, what to look for, risk reward management, and all the skills that are needed to put together a trading plan. So check that out, link in the description below. And then finally, if you're interested in the private member group, I throw out additional trade ideas, kind of additional trade setups in that private member group. Some of those ideas work their way into the public videos. Some of those ideas do not. So if you're interested, check that out. Link in the description below as well. We'll start off today with triple Qs. Okay, so a couple things we want to point out. One is bigger picture. We have an uptrend. All right, we're still holding that uptrend right here. You can see we adjusted the trend line slightly, but we have one reaction, two reactions, and there's three right there. So three reactions, that's our uptrend. So that is still holding. Okay. We also have negative divergence on the daily charts, RSI and PPO. Those tell me that this uptrend is likely about to be finished. Okay. We are seeing this bounce here off this trend line, and the resistance level, there's kind of two resistance levels. One, there's some decent resistance right here. It's about 372-ish. Okay, that's kind of some former reaction highs. All right, so there's your resistance. And then there's this potential downtrend line coming off the highs on the daily. And so depending on when and where you hit that, that would also likely be some resistance. So zone of resistance, we'll call it, just overhead. Maybe we go up and hit it. Maybe we don't. The divergences tell me that regardless of whether we hit it, it's likely going to get sold into. And ultimately, we're going to break this downtrend line. So that's what I'll be looking for. That's kind of the trading plan. Okay, so that's that one. We can look at the Nasdaq futures, see if there's any kind of different tell there. Now, Nasdaq futures already broke the uptrend line that it really started back in January of 2023. This is a daily chart on the futures. Support, 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 support. Okay, and there's your breakdown and a sell signal. So maybe it's going to come in for a back test. Resistance on this one is pretty clean resistance right up around 15,493 or somewhere right in there, basically. Big resistance. So maybe that's what's going to, as of right now, this is what it looks like it's going to do. It looks like this wants to rally up. The Qs, that means the Qs will continue to rally. Then ultimately this gets rejected and the Qs will break that trend line. Okay, so that's what this is telling me is likely going to happen. One more little push up, and it's really not too far overhead, where you're looking at about 2% or so up into that resistance zone. If I go back to triple Qs, let's see if that correlates, and yeah, that's basically a push up to about 375-ish on the triple Qs, which would be this downtrend line for resistance. So that's your upside, or I think that's your potential upside before a reversal, and we start to break back down. Just based on what the futures are telling me. Okay, one of the reasons why tech is up today is interest rates. So you can see here on the TNX, this is your 10-year treasury yield. This was one of the things yesterday, we were still pushing against the highs right there. That's kind of your former all-time highs within this current cycle, and we're pushing up against those. Today, gapping down and having a little bit of a sell-off. So that's putting some, that's helping the triple Qs rally today, seeing those interest rates come down. So interest rates could come down a little bit further. Trend line support is right there at about 4% or so. So if I roll back on the daily chart, this is going back to the COVID lows. There's your support, and there's some more tags of support. There's some more, and there's your support right there. So something to take note of on interest rates. They could come in a little bit more, and likely that's going to be, short-term bullish for triple Qs for that move, maybe up to 375. Again, I think that's probably the end of the move to the upside. So I'll be looking to short into that move or continue to add on to shorts. I actually took my long off yesterday and started to started to build a short position. It's not a full-size position. I'll look to add to that as if QQQ does want to rally up a little bit more. Again, only about a 2% upside in QQQ, so I'll be looking to build on that short position if it wants to continue to rally. Okay, let's flip over to gold. Kind of interesting today. A couple of things when I look at the gold futures. So I pointed this out over the last couple days. Gold futures are sitting at support. You can see here's support. There's support again and right at the 200. So it makes sense that the buyers are going to want to step in here at support. So we're seeing that bounce today on that support level. It is a divergent low as well. It made an equal low from the former low, but higher high in momentum. See how momentum is higher here? Okay, while price was the same. That's bullish divergence. Nothing super, nothing really strong. But again, it's interesting. And then silver. I talked about silver as looking probably even more bullish. And silver has actually been kind of leading gold really. But you can see here support. This is silver futures support, and again hit support again. Undercut it slightly, but recovered, and boom, off she goes. So silver's still bullish, still holding bullish trend, and I don't see any indication that the uptrend in silver is done. It looks like an uptrend to me. And then when I flip over to something like commodities, DJP is a commodity ETF. You can see here. This is kind of your ag commodities and stuff. Big bullish falling wedge on the daily with bullish divergence that had been building, breakout, and starting to build an uptrend. All right, there's 3 reactions, 1, 2, 3. So commodities are in an uptrend, silver's in an uptrend. In general, that should continue to put inflationary pressure on the Fed and the markets. But interest rates coming down a little bit today, so that's kind of what's going on today. But again, longer term, this still looks like it's started an uptrend or continuing an uptrend ultimately. Okay, so we'll look at some individual trade ideas that I've kind of been talking about just to see where those are at. JPMorgan had a sell signal yesterday. You can see right there, boom, sell signal. So it might want to backtest today, this trend line, but ultimately just looking for this breakdown to hold. That's kind of key. If they can recover the trend line, then this breakdown here was a false breakdown, a bear trap. And then if you see that, then that's likely going to mean JPMorgan's going to run up and make a new high. Okay, so that's one thing to watch out for, because at the end of the day, nobody knows where it's going to go. So if it does do that, then we stop out. Otherwise, this is a breakdown. That's exactly what this is, and it should likely continue lower. The one thing about this breakdown that gives me a little bit of pause is there's no real divergence. There is big divergence from way back here, but recent divergence, no. The momentum's relatively strong on this high right here. You can see momentum made a new high. So one thing that gives me pause, and one reason why I'm not completely loading the boat on a short on this one quite yet. Looking for more selling. There's also, it looks to be there's some support right about here, right in there at about 143.84. So you take that out, that's likely going to be your next sell signal. Otherwise, they could just, this could be a false breakdown. Something to look for. It's not we still have a sell signal as of now. So we'll watch this one closely. Nvidia. So Nvidia has earnings after the bell. So definitely higher risk. It can go either way. It can gap up, could gap down. Nobody knows how that's actually going to take place. So it is definitely more of a gamble to have a large position essentially right ahead of earnings. We have huge negative divergence. It's been building for quite a while. So you can see the momentum's really dropped off on this one. If they want to pop this after earnings, as long as it's nothing major and they just maybe slightly pop it, I could see them popping it up to, this trend line right here, possibly up to about 500 or so, make a new divergent high. And that would just make a new divergent high right above the former high right there. If it does that, it's going to be divergent high that would likely get sold into. Okay, so that's one possibility. Another possibility is you have this big gap up. This is from the last earnings report. They could gap this thing down, and it could gap down big, maybe potentially all the way down to fill this gap right here. There's support right there about 318. So maybe a gap down to that level. That would be support. Buyers would likely be sitting there. But that would create this big island cluster top. So that is another potential. Again, I don't know which way that's going to go. The divergences tell me that if it gaps up, there's going to be some decently strong selling after that gap up. And then if it gaps down, there might be an initial pop on just kind of the buy the dip, but that should get sold into. Either way, this looks to be going lower in the near future. So that's it on Nvidia. Okay, some longs. So here is Pfizer, PFE. On this one, what I like about it is you have a downtrend line that we can watch. All right, there's resistance. That downtrend has been broken. That's a buy signal right there, and it came with bullish divergence right there on the RSI and the PPO. So to me, that looks like a long. There's some resistance right up here, about 38.73. You probably hit that, and ultimately hit the 200. There's some more resistance up there. It's really sitting at about right in here at about 41.77. So those are some upside targets for PFE. And yeah, in general, that looks like a decent long. And DraftKings. So DraftKings, again, the bigger pattern, we have this island reversal top right there in DraftKings that still holds. So sometimes what you'll see is they'll rally it up into the bottom of, they'll kind of fill the gap right here. And that might be possible. Maybe they're going to do that. I don't know. But that would, we're still holding that island cluster top. So ultimately, I'm looking for more selling. And we're kind of at resistance right now. If we go down to the hourly, you can see here on the hourly, you have this kind of breakout right here. Held support right there. And we're just slightly above it. But basically in that area where the sellers, where there should be some sellers. And if they do step in, then yeah, it's going to hold that resistance point. And then ultimately we should make another leg lower. That's what I'm expecting. I don't think we're going to run higher, but you know, if the Triple Qs wants to continue to rally up a little more, then maybe DraftKings has a good day. Yeah, so that's it. Ultimately, bigger picture, we just broke down from a big bearish rising wedge, and the widest part of the wedge is, this is a good size wedge right in here, which is about there, and it sets us up for a trade, you know, basically down to the 17 mark for kind of a measured target. So that's the bigger picture pattern that I'm looking to trade to capture that bigger move. It's sometimes kind of hard to get, you know, to get the little zigs and zags, every single one right. But the bigger picture, the trend trade looks to be down to that 17 area for that measured target. So that's what I have on that one. I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. If there's anything else interesting, I'll put out an end of the day video. Otherwise, we'll see how these Nvidia earnings comes out and how the market reacts to that. All right, thanks. Take